welcome everybody who has signed up and logged in this afternoon. The purpose of this webinar is to introduce the USAP-DC to you, the United States Antarctic Program Data Center. I want to show you what it's for, what we do, and how you can interact with the data center to take data out and to put data in and to just support the whole life cycle of Antarctic data. The data center is funded by the NSF, and it's really built to support National Science Foundation US sponsored projects. But of course, the data are available to everybody. I have the 4 names on this presentation of the USAP-DC team, but it's easier if I can show you their faces, just so that you know who's behind the scenes of all of this. The PI of the project is Suzanne Carbot, and the co-I is Frank Nietzsche, who's on the call here today. He and I are both data managers, so when you do make a submission to the data center, or when you have a question or something comes up, it's probably going to be one of the 2 of us that you will interact with. And then Neville Shane is the programmer who works behind the scenes and makes everything work and holds it together. So these are the faces of the people that you might be in contact with if you or when you use the services of the USAP-DC. And why are we here? Data centers really provide a pretty fundamental component of the scientific endeavor. And in Antarctic work, it's particularly apparent that the observations that we make and the analyses that we do, they're unique. They're hard to come by. We go to remote places, and there's a major investment in any data point that we get. And also it's a changing environment. So often it wouldn't be possible to go back and remeasure something, even if you could, because the system's already changed. So it's really crucial in all science, but particularly in ours, that data, once they are hard won, are preserved and are shared and get a long life. So that's important for science reproducibility, just to test the work that we've done. It's important so that other people can pick up the data and do things with them that hadn't occurred to us when we first acquired them. And it's also important so that different data sets can build on each other and come together, so that new science can be done that wouldn't have been possible within the scope of a single project. So it's really important that we do preserve the data that we get from the Antarctic. And it's also important as a responsibility as a scientist, and there is some codified responsibility that comes with the NSF awards that we win. So there are requirements that come with your funding award of how you're to make your data public. A lot of journals are currently requiring that the data are available and available in certain terms, permanent archives, things like that. And so to support your publications, we're here to hold and direct to data. And then the professional societies, which represent what we all want to do as scientists, are promoting fair data practices, which apply to archives, but also to the spirit of how we do our science. That data should be findable and accessible, interoperable between systems, and reusable. So that's really what's steering having a data center, and this one is committed to the Antarctic data from the NSF. And this is another view of the different parts of the life cycle of data that there are requirements for and that we can support. So the life cycle is this image at the top that you can pick up at any point, but let's start with proposal writing. So you have a question, you need to write a proposal, it's successful, you get a project, you get some data, you analyze some data, you want to publish those data and make them available to other people, you want to publish your findings about them. Other people you have more questions, other people have more questions. The data need to be discovered again so that they can be used again and spawn the next question. So there is this constant cycle of how data fuels science, and we're here to make that just a lot of opportunities rather than a lot of burdensome forms to fill in and megabytes to keep up with for everybody. We're centralizing that effort to an extent. So in the fine print of your NSF award, there are these requirements that are written in. For a start, to write a proposal, you know that you need to include a data management plan. Once you've got a successful award, by the end of year 1, you're required to register your project with the USAP Data Center. Once you have data, you need to submit that to an archive, and the text at the moment requires that that's within 2 years of acquiring it or the end of the project, whichever is sooner. And by the time you're submitting your final report of all your accomplishments and show that you have done everything, the way that you show that you have is that your project has a link to the Antarctic Master Database, which I'll explain in a few moments. Those are the requirements that are put on us all, and then the USAP-DC services to support them are that on the website that I'm going to show you today, there is a link to a data management plan tool, which is kind of cool, and helps make sure that you've thought through all the things that need to be thought through for how you're going to deal with the data that you acquire in your project. We'll show you how to register the project, which is that requirement for the first year. And that's the central place for your project to combine all the different records that will be associated with it. So that's the project that will be linked out to this master database, which is external to us and is an international facility. We will automatically link in publications that come from the project, but you always have control to add things that haven't been picked up in the automatic process, or to contribute things yourself that have come from your projects. And on the project side, that's where we link to data sets that we hold, data sets that you've deposited elsewhere. It really is a central place for everything that comes out of the project. As I've said, once you're submitting data sets, we are an archive, so we can host data sets for you. We'll issue DOIs so that they are traceable and citable through the system. And by hosting data and by linking to all the external data centers that you might have used, we're a good resource for being able to search for data that exist once you're ready to write your next proposal. So that's the mixture of the life cycle of a data set, the requirements that are put on us, and how USAP-DC supports each of those things. There we go. And this is another way of getting that sense of structure, because some of the questions that people asked on the forum was just, how do all these different pieces fit together? And in this diagram, it's showing you what the role of the data center really is. And the project catalog is central to that. So this is like a homepage for your project that describes the key elements of the project that you have underway. You can link data sets from discipline-specific repositories if you want to. So there's many different repositories out there that are really well attuned to a particular data set. And you can, of course, use those and then connect them into your project so that they'll be held in one place in the project catalog. There are data sets that we collect that aren't big enough to have specific repositories exactly for that kind of data. There's incredibly valuable and hard-won data sets that are on Excel spreadsheets on somebody's desktop. So there's all sorts of different data and many different disciplines that might just not have a home somewhere else. And the USAP-DC is a repository that can hold those. So you can use a discipline-specific data center if you would like, or you can use the USAP-DC to hold your data sets, and they'll link into the project catalog in exactly the same way. So people will find them on the same page, and it'll be a very smooth way of pulling the parts of your project together. So the project catalog you'll make at the end of by the end of the first year of your project. Once there are some data attached to the project, we at the data center will put your project into the Antarctic Master Database. Pardon me. There we go. We'll put it into the master database. It has other US projects that are funded by other agencies that go directly into the master database. There are also other nations. So this is the international catalog of Antarctic projects that have produced data, is the AMD. So that's the link that you get at the very end of your reporting process. And so this whole corner of NSF funded work finds its way to the AMD through the USAP-DC project catalog. Hopefully that makes some sense in what you'll be interacting with and the kind of services that we provide. Because if it does, I will go ahead and start introducing the website to you. So I should still be sharing my screen, and unless somebody shouts to me, I'll say that you can see the USAP-DC homepage. So this is usap-dc.org. This is the homepage. The three large buttons that you see here are the three major functions that we're supporting and the three major steps that we'll go through. If you scroll down the homepage, you'll see this map gives a representation of the kind of holdings that we have in projects and data sets that we've archived. You can click on them to get a sense of what kind of data are here. But I'm gonna, in the interest of time and having some time for your questions, just roll through and show you these major functions. So the first thing that you might want to do if you're thinking about writing a new proposal, starting a new project in Antarctica, you want to search for some data that will support your initial work and what might go into your proposal. So there's a lot of different fields that you can search on here. I've decided that we're going to search for penguins. And I press search and the 800 and some records have gone down to 41. And this is what the results of the search look like. So on this side, you see the names of projects. These are proposal titles. These are taken from the NSF database. The NSF award numbers are here and the date that the project was created, who's involved. And then over on this side, all of the data sets that are linked in with that project. And you'll notice, I can get some of the Zoom materials out of the way of my screen, that some of them are held at the USAP-DC and some of them are held in other places. And that's the whole point of being able to pull together your whole project onto a single page. So to give you an example of that, here's a project that has a good diverse range of data coming from it. The project page is going to have some of the key information about your project. It's got a map that shows you pretty much where you are. If you have your own website for the project, you can link it here. And then the abstract is what you submitted to NSF at the time of the award. It's got a list of who's involved and links out to the award numbers and to the Antarctic Master Database. If there were any expeditions or cruises, we can link out to those as well. And then the data sets that have been linked, you'll find here. So as an example of a data set page, you click on the data that you wanted. It looks quite familiar, same sort of a map, but this is all data set specific. And if you scroll down the page, then there's a download button and you can pull those data directly from this data page. There's also a README that you can have a look at, or you can download it as a text file. And that's how you get access to a lot of the data sets that we host in-house here. For the external ones, you'd click in the same way and you'll be brought to the archive where that data set exists. And then the reason that I picked this project to show you is that it has quite a lot of different sorts of data. Sometimes there'll be a gigantic data set that's gigabytes that maybe we don't serve directly from the download button, and you can contact us and we'll move it onto an FTP for you to download. So you can still easily get access to it. It's just there's one extra step other than just directly downloading it.